We are very happy to welcome Jonathan Taylor today. Is back and has offered to speak on this intriguing topic, good life, good death, good grief. Welcome, and we're going to lend our presence and our listening and our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Paul, you said it all. Well, it's an interesting thing to be in this group with a title and truthfully to be speaking about something I know nothing about. I've just, during the last year, been working with a group, perhaps some of you are members of the group, the Learning and Retirement Group. And last fall, I presented this topic over a period of 8 to 10 weeks. And then, because of the interest in it, did it again this spring. And in each case, of that large group of elders, so-called retirees, the room was packed. And in some strange way, this has brought to me this inquiry. I know nothing about it, and yet I am drawn into the curiosity of just what it means to be alive, and what does it that dies? What is it that dies? We have this sense, perhaps, that we arose, and by that I mean we became conscious of ourselves out of nowhere. One day, we were not, the next day we are. As the Sargadatta says, it is simply enough to repeat to ourselves, I am, I am. And it begs of us to say, when is it that I am not? This is the heart of the matter, isn't it? This is the heart of the matter.
Yeah, well said, yeah.
And perhaps that's where some of our anxiety arises. I don't know how I got here, and if something changes, or I need to do something about it, I don't know what to do. There's not much to be done because I was not the acting agent that set this whole thing in motion anyway. So how is it that we can contemplate something that we don't remember, that presumably has happened many, many times before, to something that has a connection along the way between this one, this event, this existence, this life, this I amness, and the next, perhaps, I amness? How is it that we wake up the same as we went to sleep? We don't have to start from scratch after every time we go to sleep. And yet, we do. We start with an open, clean, new day. And we go to sleep again. And we start with an open, clean, clear new day. And we go to sleep again. On a much smaller scale, we take an in-breath. Yeah. And then we let it out. The first act in the world of a newborn is to take a breath in. And the last act in the moment of passing is the exhale. And when I've attended one who's dying, that pregnant moment, having sat with this one, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And that marks the moment when what we call death has happened, is happening. That last outward breath. And yet we're doing this all the time. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Is it not possible that that's a rehearsal for the last breath? That as we breathe out, we clear the field for the next breath in. And so we live in the presence of death, in the presence of life, with every breath. This asks the question, what are we afraid of? What could we possibly be afraid of when this is happening moment by moment by moment? A person who has spent a lot of time with the dying has said, death is the safest thing that we can do, that we can participate within. Death is the safest thing. And yet we fear it. We won't talk about it with each other. We keep it at bay, and we fight the great fight when perhaps some kind of illness comes to us, some kind of accident, some kind of disaster, and we fight for that last breath. Fight. Our cells fight for it. Our organs fight for it. Our consciousness fights for it. That's part of our organicity. So the question comes back, what is it that dies? When there is, at the deepest root, no separation between life and death. That's one of our greatest illusions, amongst others, but this one, that there is a discrete separation between life and death, is the source of a great deal of suffering. So it may be that what has been drawing me into this contemplation is my own doubt about what I'm saying right now. That I need to get closer to it and closer to it. Not just by allowing it to happen, because it will, so it has been told. But I get drawn closer and closer to something that is inexplicable. So it's possible, or is it? Let me ask this question. Is it possible to prepare for death? What would you do from this place, this time, this instant? What would you do to prepare for the inevitable? That's almost impossible to imagine preparing for the inevitable. What are we afraid of? That we make anathema of the inevitable. What do we know about death? We've seen our pets die. We might have had certainly parents that have passed. We may have had children pass. what do we know from our own experience about this? It's not observing a subject external to us, apparently, going through this business of dying. We see what happens from the outside, but do any of us have the direct experience of dying in this moment? I don't. But I can imagine. But I cannot say that I remember having died.
Have you gone to sleep at night?
Every night.
I often think of that as the death. I wake up in the morning and I've gone on a journey during the night.
And then there are stories of people that have drowned
Yes,
and had that calling to the light.
yes.
You know, I know someone who related that story to me of his own experience as a fisherman that got tossed overboard.
Yes, the near-death experience, and it's been studied in great detail, and the physical scientists talk about changes in biochemistry. Others have a sense that they have gone to a place, and that the accounts of that going to a place are quite similar, and that they are turned back, sometimes with great annoyance and anger. They are turned back and told, no, not now. You've got work to do. A friend who said that, he said he was a ranger in Vietnam who was wounded, medevaced. He actually clinically died, and when he became conscious in the helicopter, he looked up at the corpsman, great black man looking down, smiling. "Welcome back, Strider," he said. And he was about as angry as he has ever been in his life. What am I doing back here now? No, thank you.
Many deaths in one night. Many
Yes.
deaths.
Yes.
Only the body breathes. Breath comes with the body. The body dies. Many deaths in one night. Many let goes.
Every day.
Many big let goes. Where death happens to that which let go. Death, no problem. Living, no problem. Mind, big problem. Mind always running behind, always trying to catch up, always trying to figure out best practice for death. No,
And who says that?
nobody. Nothing.
And that which hears them?
Everything and nothing. No problem.
Don't worry, be happy.
It just is just what a miracle.
And we are curious.
Only the mind is curious.
Yeah.
I have seen many people down in the war. And I call it living under bayonet.
Under
Bayonet.
bed.
Under-
Bayonet.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes.
So I learned that the dark time doesn't exist. And I learned that some beings have been living with beauty and grace, no matter where they have been. And some people have been very much in whatever it is called.
Depths of hell.
So some kind of
Yes.
pressure from the emotions and mind or whatever it comes. And I did some experiment last year. I have been having one beautiful flower that came in my pots early in the spring, beautiful, looking like sunflower, but it was not really sunflower, it was more violet. And I was watching it all summer, and in the fall, suddenly the flower changed, and it was such fluff starting to be on it, such little fluff. So I talked to it, listen, you changed. And she was telling me, yes, I have to prepare myself. And so I was watching it, and suddenly started to be cold days. So I communicated to that flower, and it was telling me, take you in. You would see how I sustain. So I have it still on my top shelf. It is still fluffy. The fluff is still there. So the remaining of the flower from inside is still there. And when people are saying about, do we sustain? I said, yes. Here you have the flower that is still here. In other dimension, in other way, it vibrates in different way. But it vibrates in different form or different way. But it is still there. Doesn't have to leave anything. So the core of the flower is still there.
And now the flower lives here.
That's exactly how I felt when you started to speak. That we are all flowers.
Yeah.
In each one of us in different way, but we are flowers.
When life many
That's exactly. So I feel blessed that I communicated with that one flower.
No, we're glad you are.
And it is still on my shelf.
And now it's here.
Yeah.
Here is the shelf and the heart.
Yes. So it came time for me to seed myself. And I chose the wind to be delivered to. And the wind was glad, and it said it needed all the body it could get to show its motions with. And wanted to know willingly, as I hoped it would, if it could do something in return to show its gratitude. When the trees of my bones rises from the skin, I said, come and whirlwinding stroll my dust around the plain. Stroll my dust around the plain. So I can see how the Ocotillo does, and how the saguaro wren is, and when you fall with evening, fall with me here, where we can watch the closing up of the day and think how morning breaks. So that we can watch the closing up of the day and think how morning breaks. We are the dust that makes the light visible. The motes in the sunbeam, dancing, revealing the light to all it is. How could this die? That was AR. Here's Rilke.
Yeah.
Want to change, be inspired by the flame where everything shines as it disappears. The artist, when sketching, loves nothing so much as the curve of the body as it turns away. What locks itself in sameness has congealed. Is it safer to be gray and numb? What turns hard becomes rigid and is easily shattered. Pour yourself out like a fountain. Flow into the knowledge that what you are seeking finishes often at the start and ending begins. Every happiness is the child of a separation. It did not think that it could survive. And Daphne, becoming a laurel, dares you to become the wind. Daphne, becoming a laurel, dares you to become the wind. What's the feeling of that right now? What's in your body in this moment as sensation, as knowing, that dares you to become the wind?
Every reading is called awakening, right?
Yes.
After my prayers, open shadow there, but some of that when my readings, but my purpose.
Mhm. What locks itself in sameness is congealed. Is it safer to be gray and numb? What turns hard becomes rigid and is easily shattered. What turns hard becomes rigid and is easily shattered. And then he says, pour yourself out like a fountain. Flow into the knowledge that what you are seeking finishes often at the start and with ending begins.
Divine joke.
And yet we are human creatures.
No, not.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, I'm not.
Can we not laugh while we take ourselves seriously? Trapped in this moment, imagining this great all is one connectedness, but we don't run out into traffic and take on a bus. So there's this funny play. We are creatures and we are beyond creatureness. it's a big joke.
It's what, a big joke?
A big joke.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Very funny. But it can be.
I like to think of it as a beautiful explosion of light and love. We're all sparks off the big spark, and we cannot be destroyed. We continue on in whatever form we decide to take.
And that's the form you've decided to take.
Right now, this is it. I think.
Yeah.
And that's why I say it's inevitable.
When you read the part and asked about what is the sensation or felt sense or sensation right now, the pouring out,
Yes.
and I can feel, I can really feel as though every single particle that's a part of me now, when you said that, I could feel that becoming the same fabric of the entire multi-universe. And I feel very lucky and grateful that I feel that every time I do biodynamic cranial sacral work. I mean, that's one place I feel it strongly. I feel it at night and in meditation too. And so I've really asked a few times, like, how does it feel to go back into the whole fabric? And really strongly get this dissolving and yet not dissolved. It's like a dissolving and joining, and yet the consciousness is completely there. And so that's the best way I can describe that. And at the same time, I can feel my whole container here, container of water, grounded with the earth right now currently in this mission. Get as much done as possible before dissolving. Yeah, it feels like particles dissolving into light, but not losing myself. So,
Yes. Can you say something about the impatience?
the impatience of people,
Of you?
of me. Oh, yeah, my impatience is, there's just so many things to heal up in this world before leaving, holy smokes. Yeah, so, yeah.
Yes, thank you. So there's this oneness and there's impatience to do.
Yeah.
How's that been working out?
Oh. Day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. How is it working out for me personally? That sense of that dichotomy sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to pick up on whatever I set myself out to think about. Meditation, for example, one of many things that I involve myself with. But at the time when Anne asks me to do the meditation, it's a matter of that apprehension because you don't know what you're going to produce. But because I've been putting myself in that space for a long time, I have a kind of a faith that it will work itself out somehow or other and start writing. And she asked me last Sunday, I wrote it on Monday and committed it to memory on Tuesday and Wednesday. On Thursday I was pulling it apart, and on Friday and Saturday I was trying to lodge it in my memory. So that's how it happens for me, but the dichotomy bit is not knowing at the beginning and then being content when you brought something to a blossom. And then after today, I guess we'll be left with Amanda's energy frame, the seeds. I'll forget it. Something new.
Does
I don't know if that
anybody
answers you.
Does anybody get a sense of the metaphor of what you've just described that relates to the topic of the day?
The closeness between living and dying.
But the sense of entering into something in such a way that there's an intention, and then that dissolves, and then there's the moment, and then there's the culmination. But this whole trajectory that you've described is very much like the way we enter, persist, partake, and leave a life.
In the allowance
Yes.
of unknown, this is how I was living my life. I will otherwise not be here.
Mm-hmm.
To allow and listen. Learn to listen, not only physical side, but all vibrations that are around me and within and outside. That I could vibrate with each leaf or with each grass and with each tree or stone. And through that I hear that it is everything is one. But it is not possible to explain it to someone. Only it is, for me it is happening through sound or inner sound. I hear from childhood inner sound, sort of like inner music. And this is giving me the major nourishment. And everyone can hear it. Number of beings that did sound with me, they start to open the inner sound. Everyone have it the same, like each one of us. Now you are changing me to some light. I can feel around you everywhere light. So it is in vibration, allowance, not stepping into it, this blockage, or block it. With whoever is blocking it, mind or thoughts or whatever is blocking it. So allowance. And listen every moment, and each moment is the moment. It's not yesterday or tomorrow. It's only what is now.
Could we say that at some fundamental level, that this knowing appears says it's already been allowed?
It's, everything is pleasant.
Yes.
Nothing is missing.
No mistakes.
We are sometimes, though. Anyways.
So how's everybody doing with this? How are the minds, let me put it this way, how are the minds doing with this?
It is the I managed to be present in Muktananda when he was having retreat about mind. And it was incredible. We have been in silence, sitting 3 days. There was, after sharing, and they translated it to him, there was one man standing up, and he said, "Explain me this." He was thrown out from his wife or partner, and he drove. And he was knowing to somewhere to go, or something to do with himself. And he have seen beautiful women walking in dresses, so he just followed them. And when they sit down, they told him, "Shut up and sit down." So I shut up 3 days. And here I am. What you can do with me? I don't know where to go and what to do, and I know nothing. And Muktananda was saying, "That's everything." And everyone was laughing. I remember that man was so hilarious. How he described his journey. That he followed something beautiful. He didn't know even what it was. And he ended up standing there and almost crying. And so I never forget that man. That really went through that. Shut up and be silent. And listen to yourself. So this is interesting. Appel. Okay, they didn't allow him to move. So I hear that this is what's actually happening.
I think that's when we become teachable. Right?
Yeah.
You have a couple of minutes to
I'm going
wrap
to
it up. For us.
What must be said? Thank you.
I want to say that I, for one, am very fearful of death, and we live in a culture where I barely saw some dead cats and dogs, and my boyfriend died when I was pregnant. I didn't go see his corpse.
Yeah.
Too fearful, wasn't too life-making. And my brush with death, the only dead person I met was dead when I met them, and I was invited to go to their death departure, and it is a being that didn't want to be messed with, so he was in his box with his eye open and his mouth open, and I've been stuck on this breath thing, the last breath. He was so seeking the next one that never came, and his eyes were extinguished but open blue, and everybody, and the weather was with rainbow and rain and sun, and that funny cemetery in Winna where people have big whiskey bottles and stuff, and all the sage on his neck. It was very strange. I met this person dead already, but it was my only dead person, and it took some of it away, but we live so far from that. I'm grateful for that, but I'm really bedazzled, and I think an hour was too short. We're just I don't know, I wish for more of that, because I'm very uncomfortable with this dead business. A little less than I was prior to this dead person, but yeah, so there.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that forth, and hopefully somebody will take the ball when you move to Vancouver, which I'm somewhat sorry about, but happy for you if that's the move.
What are you going to do?
I seek more depthness in my culture somehow for reconciliation and readiness. Yeah,
Take the hospice training.
perhaps I will. I'll
That's a good
ponder on
idea.
that.
Yeah, this is very good.
That's a good idea. That'll help you a lot.
That's hanging out with the dying?
You learn how to do it, and then you get to do it.
Okay.
You have to prepare.
Okay, very good.
So there.
When I die, I'm gonna make it ask that my body be left open and everybody can come see a dead person. And put that in my will.
Hi.
Yeah, so you can all see a dead body. When I was a little girl, in Chicago, and you go to school, dead cats, dead dogs be in the alley, be on the way to school, you would see them, but now you never, once a horse died in the alley, delivering watermelons, just dropped dead. And it took all day for the big truck to come, and they have a thing with lift the dead body and take the horse away. But nowadays you don't see nothing dead, a fly, and you can't kill an ant. Nothing dead, so I hope when I die that anybody who wants to see a dead body can please come and see what it looked like.
Yeah, this is very interesting to deal with what we wanted to be dealt with after we died.
No kidding.
I have been dealing with in so many countries that I was not knowing if I would not leave the body other countries. So I was dealing with different cultures, and I wanted that people will sing, to do sound around me, and dance even, if they would have space. But be with me, be around me. And I even requested it here. They have been first a little bit touchy about what I was asking for. But I have a small committee,
Good.
and I asked that they will allow certain music or certain levels there and allow people to be free and to be with it. And so that's what was for me in different countries totally huge workshop. Therefore many people have been dealing with it in different way. But I have quite incredible crew. I can call it crew. And they really have been listening with me. And so this is up to you, what you would want to have. You can ask for it in whatever you have last will or whatever. Yeah, that's what
I want to say, it sounds like, Jonathan, first of all, thank you from all of us.
Yeah, thank you.
And it sounds like there's, would be room for more discussion, so maybe after, maybe folks who would like to get together and actually talk more about this, we can organize something, because it sounds like there's more to be said. But for today, thank you, Jonathan, and we are going to start our card readings.
I want, just a moment.
Yes.
I want to put a commercial in
Okay.
for the workshop that my partner is doing. It's called Opening the Soul Window. And you'll find a little announcement there on the tape.
Okay.
She spoke here a couple of weeks ago.
Who is that?
Shayla Wright.
Pardon?
Shayla Wright.
Sheila Wright.
I was told she had left already to go to the coast.
No, she's
Still
here.
around.
She's doing work, and you can read about it. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your talk today.